Hey there, everybody. Godzilla Kong here. Going to be giving a very amateurish retrospective to the AFC. Kind of like try to look at all the different teams. Do quick, 5 minutes for each one. So let's see. Now that's 16 teams times 5. 80 minutes? Oh, yeah, it shouldn't be too long. For each one, just possibly some breaks in between. Try to give like that look back to everything, as well as a tiny look ahead for like some expectations for the off season for all of them. But before I continue yammering on too much more, let's get some music going on now in the background to fill in some things. Okay, so right now I just have the page what the playoff picture looks like right now, as well as like the final standings for all of the teams. You can kind of see down below. The two worst teams in the league, who one of them I won't be getting to tomorrow for the NFC retrospective, and another one is going to be about the halfway mark into things. It looks like, but yeah, I feel like we don't need to do any more spiel about like how to get everything started. We'll just go right into this, why don't we? Starting in the AFC North, alphabetically for each division, we're going to be going with the Baltimore Ravens and start. Okay, so at the stream I did before with Johnny It's Macho Madness, for those who want to look up his Twitter and Twitch handle. We kind of like looked over things, and at the end of that season prediction, going over all the different games, came up with saying that the Ravens would be the number one seed in the AFC with a 14-3 record, and obviously AFC North champs at their number one seed too. This was based off of the idea that the Ravens were going to be a very strong team. Like when Lamar went out last year, they still stayed strong and looked like a good team with him out. So the assumption was that they'd be able to carry that forward and have Lamar the whole season. Oh boy. What actually ended up happening for them is that they got a 10-7 record, became the 6th seed, and are second place in the AFC North instead. Games I guessed correctly on wins or losses throughout it. I actually, for the most part, got this right. Only missed on 3. And, that was going to be, I would have got like at the 14 there. The team hit the 9.5, over-under they had, like the over for that, just barely, obviously. And, what are some things that went different with this team than expected? Well, hey, Lamar got hurt again. And, but that wasn't even it. Okay, Lamar went down, their backup went down, and now they're going into the playoff game with the backup and the backup, and it's just a whole weird mess. No one really knows what's going on. Hey, somehow they got a plus 35-point differential at the end of the season, so the sky isn't fully falling, but hard to trust that offense right now. Like, who knows if Lamar comes back next season or not. He's probably going to get franchise tagged at least. But the only offensive weapon they have outside of Lamar is Mark Andrews, who is a really good tight end. That wide receiver room needs so much work. It's not even them. So many things on the offense need work, it looks like. The offensive line didn't feel like it was holding up as well before as used to. The offense as a whole got really stale. It's a team that might have to look at a new offensive coordinator over the season. They haven't got rid of their current one yet, so I don't know, probably going to be keeping that guy after all, but he's going to be on a hot seat. Yeah, this is a team that had expectations that, like, their expectations for this team were like based off of Lamar, even staying strong with him out, but man, did they collapse without him? And they didn't collapse without him. They just still managed to find wins because they got a good coach. But something that's not looking good for them when it comes to the playoffs is that they went 1-5 against teams that are now in the playoffs, by the way. So they're not exactly looking too competitive with winning teams. Okay, and like even with Lamar out as well, that makes it like even more worrisome about like their hopes in the playoffs, especially where there are so many strong, very like strong young QBs who are out there just kind of like dominating the game, with Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, and Herbert as some of the instances there. Boy, yeah, this team's not gonna be winning their first game. Their matchup is gonna be with the Bengals. Yeah, with the Bengals. So it's just gonna be a rematch of Week 18, which is always a weird thing. But yeah, don't be betting on the Ravens to be winning any of the playoff games. Expect them to get bounced and have a messy offseason. Oh, I'm speaking of the offseason. They should be spending this time looking at like their different wide receiver options. I believe this is going to be a bad free agency for the most part when it comes to wide receivers, if I recall correctly. So they'd have to be looking at the draft if possible, but even then, where they're picking, who knows if they'll be getting a good enough option. Running backs also need to. I'm going to be adding a minute to all of these, after all, just because they need the extra time. It turns out, okay, yeah, the running back room's another thing that kind of needs to be looked at. They have good people there, like I don't know. It just sucks because they kept on getting injured, and I really feel like the offensive line, again, maybe that's just my eyes deceiving me, but I don't know. I just didn't really trust that line. I didn't feel like it was opening up enough holes. Maybe that was the offense getting stale again. Who knows? They also need to work on their defensive line in the offseason because Calais Campbell, I didn't see what his contract is like, but he is up there in years. So they got to get to working on replacing him and building depth there at least. Like, the Ravens are always good at scheming up defensive schemes that kind of like confuse and mess up quarterbacks. So they don't need to worry too much about like getting top tier elite corners, but they need very smart and capable people at least to kind of like handle everything around them. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, now we're going to be moving on to the next team in the AFC North, the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, so with the season prediction streams, it was predicted that this team would go 9-8, be third place in the AFC North and out of the playoffs. Oh, I forgot to get the over/under for what they had at the beginning of the season. They definitely hit the over though, because they ended up with a 12-4 record, winning the AFC North and getting a third seed in the playoffs. I guessed only 7 of their games correctly, so not as good of a prediction as what I had for the Ravens, it turns out. But yeah, this was a team where like a lot of the doubts towards them was like the belief that their head coach Zach Taylor wasn't going to be able to improve. Like, the Bengals were a team that got to the playoffs in spite of their coach. They were a team that got to the Super Bowl despite their coach. That's what I firmly believe. I was so sure Zach Taylor is going to be like another Mike McCarthy, who's just like an average, sometimes bad coach who is propped up by elite quarterback play. But I have to say, like, he actually did improve. He did learn over the season, or at least I felt like he did. Things got smarter. He was making better decisions. He was trusting his elite tier QB more and more, and that just proved to get them more and more wins. Joe Burrow himself elevated to another level, and the fact that he has more room to improve is bad news for the AFC North. He is an insanely accurate quarterback, and oh boy, that connection with Jamar Chase. Oh, that is dangerous. That is so fucking good. You can't. He's a quarterback you just can't help but root for as well. He's just got like that. It's just got that swagger to him, like that cool guy essence, kind of like flowing out of him. That it's not like the '80s movie cocky like asshole kind of swag, but like he is a person like you just think is cool, naturally. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. The offensive line for the team also got better. It was terrible for the first few weeks, but eventually things click. Like should have been expected for them. The upgrades the Bengals put into their offensive line were able to finally be able to protect Burrow better. I mean, they're not saving him on every play, but they're helping him kind of like stay calm and cool in the pocket more. Let him kind of like develop the plays even longer. And that just helps Burrow link up with his various receivers and his tight ends. Sometimes his running back who gets like a 6 touchdown game. God damn, Joe Mixon. Yeah, one of the outside of like the Burrow connection with all of his offensive playmakers, the thing to look at for the Bengals are their defense. Tight ends, yeah. I know, it's a fun word. Oh, fun 2 words, Brian. But yeah, their defense was damn good. It would have like some issues in the first half, but like in the second half of games that typically were able to kind of like lock a lot of teams from being able to even score 1 touchdown. The defensive line was playing at a very well level. Their defensive backs were also playing very well. But like for the most part, it was a very brilliant scheme being done by their defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, I believe is how you pronounce his name. But yeah, that guy is someone that is going to be getting a head coaching nod somewhere. He is really good. He schemes his players up well, coaches up really well, and boy, yeah, with this mixture of like this elite high-end quarterback play and this stout defense, this is a team that turns out to be should be a Super Bowl favorite. It's just like they've got 2 other teams who seated above them who are also playing at a extraordinary level right now. That's going to make things difficult. In the off season for this team, I really don't actually know what to expect from them. Like, this is a team that looks like it's going to be built more on depth. They can spare some for like looking at the linebackers. You can never have too many cornerbacks or defensive backs. You can never have too much depth on either line. But damn, yeah, this is a team that is just set up so well to compete for like the number 1 spot, not just in the AFC North, but in the AFC as a whole for years to come, so long as Burrow is there. Joe Cool. Or what's the other name? Joe Shiesty or something like that? I don't know. Yeah, there's not much else to be said. This is just a really fun team. They're the team on the Ohio I can be proud of, that I can root for, and feel good about it. I highly respect them, and I wish for the best. Hey, for the next 10 seconds, want to talk about tiger facts real quick? Hey, you know about like their ears have marks on them that look like there's eyes. That way it looks like they're always watching everything. Okay, that's enough time right there. Let me get a drink of my water. These 6 seconds are blowing by fast. Okay, next up, the team I can't be too proud of from Ohio now. The Factory of Sadness. Cleveland Browns. Now, in the season prediction streams, I was probably caught on my old fandom a bit when I made some of these picks because I believe that they could be a 10-7 team, second in the AFC North, but still out of the playoffs. Man, thinking that a 9-win team would be able to make it to the AFC playoffs. Oh boy, was I wrong. An 8-win team made it in the NFC, but that's another story. Okay, their actual record ended up being 8-9, last place in the AFC North, and out of the playoffs. So, hey, I got one of those things right. I got 7 of their games correctly, so I was bad at predicting the Browns as I was with the Bengals. Maybe I'm just bad at predicting teams from my state. The team just barely hit the under for the 8.5 wins total. And, yeah, what happened with them over the season? Okay, here's some good stuff. Jacoby Brissett, before I get into shitting on them, Jacoby Brissett was a pleasantly good quarterback during his time. At the end of the season, he ended up being tied for 10th and EPA per dropback, so that's a measurement of efficiency, like the expected points that you're able to make per play. And this is kind of like for every dropback. It's one of the like analytical ways to kind of like measure like how good someone or something really is. David Njoku made a massive leap in production. That he's proving that he is now proving that he is who he was drafted to be, and who he got that who he's being paid all that money from his new contract to be. Amari Cooper is who he was expected to be. Good on the Browns for tricking Jerry Jones into giving pennies for him. And Myles Garrett continues to be the best defensive end in football. That's it's also not going to get any Defensive Player of the Year kind of like votes. He ended up being, I believe, #1 in pressure rates, while also being double teamed at the highest rate. So, yeah. Oh, hey, don't forget about the fact that he is being held on every play, but the league officials have admitted that they don't call holding against him because this is the Shaq rules from NBA, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. You have a player who is breaking the game so much that the officials just kind of like look the other way when a penalty is put on that player. Hey, let's get into some of the bad news here now. Deshaun Watson, who was a mistake to draft because of the personality, because of what he's done. Yeah, he was terrible. He very much looked like someone who hadn't played a snap in 2 years. He progressively got better, and the Browns are hoping that with a full off season, getting adjusted back to things, that he'll be looking like the Watson of old and give like the stellar plays that he made back in Houston. But I don't know. He's gonna have to work on like his time with Amari Cooper, as well as Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's proving to be a pretty good deep threat option. Njoku's going to be his best friend on the field when it comes to a target, I believe. Going to be like a lesser version of Kelsey for him, or Kittle for him. But yeah, on the defensive side, the Browns got rid of their defensive coordinator, who... Yeah, everyone could see him being gone mid-season. He was terrible at scheming, and like tried to do... the players admitted to this, like he tried to do too much. To the point that it felt like the team was trying to trick itself to trick their opponents, and that just does not go well. And the defensive line really only had Myles Garrett there. Clowney ended up being a clown, who at the end of the season decided to blame Myles Garrett for getting double teamed too much. I don't know. He was just it just seems like someone who's jealous that Garrett's actually being the player that Clowney thought he would be. For this team's offseason, they need to find whoever they want to be a defense coordinator. Looks like it's going to be Brian Flores, who is a fantastic fit for them, but would really ramp up that defense. They need to invest in the defensive interior more as well. Get like a tackle who can actually stop the goddamn run. Get a tackle who is NFL starter level. You can always get some more work on either line. Their offensive line actually still was really good, which is good news for them because they're paying an offensive line coach a lot of money to do just that, and have some really good talent there. Can always use more help anywhere, honestly. And yeah, this is a team that Probably could go back into the playoffs next year, honestly, if they get everything done correctly. But, oh boy. Okay. Final team in the AFC North now. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this is a team that's at the end of the season prediction stream ended up being decided to be having a 7-10 record, last in the AFC North and out of the playoffs. Oh, and when when Johnny and I thought about like how the Steelers would go, we both were like, yeah, this is a bad roster. If they have a winning record, Tomlin deserves Coach of the Year votes. Tomlin deserves those Coach of the Year votes. He deserves them. He's not going to win it. There's still better options, but damn. Somehow he turned a pretty bad overall roster and made them a 9-8 team, which is still third in their division and out of the playoffs. But that's barely. That is another team's loss away from... that's a Dolphins loss away from them being in the playoffs. Yeah, I correctly guessed 10 of their games, and hey, back to Tomlin. This is now 16 seasons in a row without a losing record. Tomlin is a damn good coach. Pittsburgh fans, or at least Steelers fans from across the nations and like these maybe smaller pockets, who knows. Oh boy, they are taking him for granted. It's that whole like dumb attitude of like, oh, he can take them to the playoffs, but not to the promised land. Oh god, do you not see how bad your team would be without him being there as the coach, keeping a steady hand on things? Alright, well, through the season, we saw that the defense seems to be held together by TJ Watt mainly, as well as some bits from Minka Fitzpatrick as well, their safety. Because when both of them were out, especially when TJ Watt was out, they just collapsed. They struggled to stop anyone. Man, TJ Watt. 2 elite tier defensive ends in the same division. That's amazing. Up between him and Garrett, but yeah. The offense itself, when Kenny Pickett finally got into the starter position, they needed some time to gel. Mitch Trubisky was definitely not going to be... Didn't even look like an interim answer. So, yeah, they needed to make that switch sooner than later. And Pickett looked okay at start, but as soon as he kind of like got more in the groove of things, got more time and games on his hands, he looked better and better. And like the Week 17 game, where he kind of like did a scramble out of the pocket and did a dime of a throw on the run over to, was it George Pickens? Yeah, George Pickens for a touchdown to win a game. That was the play that Pittsburgh fans were hoping to see, to make them have hope for the future in this quarterback that was taken in the first round. The only quarterback taken in the 22 first round. But yeah, George Pickens himself. Hey, Steelers are always good at picking wide receivers. You can always count on them to do that. He makes some impressive circus catches. And hopefully he'll be trusted to make real catches, like normal catches as well. Najee Harris had a bit of a letdown year, but I put that more on the offensive line being pretty bad, as well as their offensive coordinator not being an NFL-level offensive coordinator. The line really needs a lot of work. It's still pretty trash. It's definitely struggled to open up any lanes for their running game. I didn't look at like the pass protection rankings for them, but I don't imagine it's that good either. Yeah, in the offseason, this is a team that needs to find... They need to find a new offensive coordinator, someone who can play a modern game and coach everyone up better, but I'm not going to fault them for wanting to have another year at least. But, hey, you definitely need to make sure to invest in the offensive line. or maybe honestly any part. But yet the trenches on either side are great places for them to invest in. I don't think they have. Okay, right now they'd be picking at the 17th part of the pick of the draft. Let's see now. What was their strength of schedule as well? Oh, they actually had a relatively easy schedule, so that actually helped them as well. How's their salary cap space? It's not good. They don't really have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of things they can work around to try to build things up better, honestly. So, yeah, this is going to be a challenge for for like their newly put together front office to kind of like try to rebuild everything around this team and keep them like ready for like a playoff run. But this is a team that right now is going to be trying to stay in third place. Honestly, I don't see them being competitive more than they have been this year come next year. They need to have like Pickett go to an even higher level, but that's going to be troublesome without a better offensive line. All right. And that's the AFC North taken care of. We've already gone about half an hour into this. Alright, so that means that we are going to move on to the AFC East now, starting with the Buffalo Bills. The Josh Allen-led Buffalo Bills. Before the season prediction streams, I ended up believing that this is a team that would go 14-3, get the second seed, and win the AFC East. There's going to be an asterisk on this team, same with what's on the Bengals. Because they had that one game taken out for good reasons. Thank goodness to see that Damar Hamlin is safe and sound and was able to get home. That was a very scary injury, and glad to know that he's all better now. But yeah, games that were guessed correctly by me were 12 of them. An asterisk there with the Bengals, same with the Bengals because of that one game. They definitely hit the over of their 11.5 wins, but yeah, what happened with this team? I'd like to. Okay, so the roster has been built extraordinarily well over the years, and it's been a good job between coaching and roster development. Roster building to go ahead and help Allen's development, and which just skyrocketed with the Stephon Diggs trade a couple years ago, to the point that this is a team that should make a Super Bowl run. Like, I'm debating between them and the Bengals as the team I actually believe goes to the Super Bowl. No offense to the Chiefs, we'll get to you in a bit. But, yeah, before... with the season prediction streams, I believe that this is a team that would have struggles on offense early on, but with the idea that they would try to run the ball more, like McDermott would demand like more of a running game, and which wouldn't work out too well, but they'd still win some games just because of an easier schedule as well as kind of like good coaching and stuff. But hey, those are the struggles that happened. This was a team that understood they're a passing heavy team and made the most of it. There were some weird minor adjustments just because it was a different style of a passing game, but they kind of like worked a lot of that out eventually, and yeah, now that offense is very troublesome, very strong. The defense was also pretty stifling, especially when they had Von Miller on the field, but he's injured He's injured, got injured, was it a couple months ago? Or a month ago? And, well, they would like to have, I imagine they would love to have his pass rush abilities right now, especially going into the playoffs against a bunch of pass-heavy teams, but their depth's been good. And, Matt Milano is one of the linebackers you should pay attention to in the league. He has been playing at a very high level. Really helped that team, and like their defensive backfield. Again, it's not like you remember every name of a person there, at least as a casual fan of the league. But yeah, it's still very well coached. It's strong. It's disciplined. They were able to do enough to kind of like help limit plays in the games and make plays of their own. This is just a team that. Oh, this is also a team that's getting healthier, getting some of their players back as well at the right time. And that's going to make things like even stronger for their playoff push. Now, some issues is that you still see Josh Allen trying to play hero ball too much. You can see him especially when it comes to the red zone. He had a lot of red zone interceptions over the season, and you want him to be safer, more careful with the ball, instead of kind of like accidentally shoot the team in the foot right at the end of things. Like, if they were to make those mistakes against the Chiefs or the Bengals, that's game over. You cannot be one step back at any point, or you're gone. But hey, that's not to say that he does that stuff all the time. He's better about this stuff now than he was 2 years ago still. And you can kind of like just play into the chaos, play into his kind of like play style, and let him kind of like go wild, and you'll get like some crazy plays out of him still. In the offseason, I honestly feel like this is a team that's probably going to be looking at depth more than anything. I can't think of any weaknesses off the top of my head without doing like a deep dive into the roster. I know Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, is going to be a popular possibility for them if he's available, but concerning the team's not exactly one to prioritize the running game, I feel like they'd still kind of like pick a different piece to look at. Maybe look at a defensive lineman, like if they have someone aging out of the contract, or kind of like want to get a veteran out in time before like their cap hits too much. Speaking of which, their cap space is, yeah, they're in the negatives right now, so they would have to restructure or let go of some veterans. Their defense was. Oh wow, their defense wasn't as stout as I thought, huh? Right behind the Chiefs, for like, sorry, they 31st in points per game, but that's a thing. It could be wonky. All right, hey, my other sip of water now. Oh. All right, the Miami Dolphins. Oh, this is a weird one. All right, the predicted record for this team would be that they go 9-8, second in the AFC East, but get out of the playoffs. And instead, they went 9-8, second in their division, and a 7th seed. I guessed 11 of their games correctly, and this is a team that just got their over for 8.5 wins. With the season prediction streams, Johnny and I were under the impressions that this was a team that could have an offense go to a high level when they get Tua into the Shanahan system. Let a quarterback that's great at yards after catch be put into a system that's great with yards after catch, with wide receivers who are fast and great at yards after the catch. And like the rhythm, the timing of the offense that was put into place with Tua being a supreme rhythm style quarterback, just things looked like they were gonna clicking so well. This is a team that looked like they could be a serious Super Bowl threat. But Tua got injured so much. And the way the team treated his injuries was not great. He had like multiple concussions through the season, to the point that like even if the Dolphins somehow beat the Bills in the playoffs, it's hard to imagine like the team going. Like, it's hard to imagine like Tua being allowed to play the next game after that. He's out this wild card round. I believe that's already been confirmed. But oh god. Gotta feel bad for him. Like, at this point, he might be given like the David Carr treatment, where he just gets too, or David Carr or like Andrew Luck treatment, where he just gets too injured to be able to continue playing. I also have to say, like, I feel like the cornerbacks felt like a letdown compared to the expected talent. Like, they have quite a few people that were expected to do big things. Like, Xavier Howard was brought in there to be a ball hawk, and I don't think he's been bad. He just hasn't been as expected. I mean, if you want to look at a good thing for this team, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Oh, what a fantastic duo those speedsters are. All right, see you, Brian. Yeah, they're capable of shredding any defense. Like they have like the best way of getting open, which is just to outrun everyone. You cannot catch up with them when they hit their stride. And like their feet movements, like their ability to kind of like just shuffle around and shake people off and the routes as well, is really good. Like, yeah, the Shanahan system did, like I said just a couple minutes ago, did what it was supposed to do. It worked how it was supposed to do. It just didn't go well, as it just struggled because injuries, I imagine. And there was also like the issue like when like sometimes like Tua would be like thrown off his rhythm. He would just kind of like have awful throws. Although there's also the idea that maybe some of that was also because of the concussions. Maybe he was affected by that. Maybe he was affected by other injuries. It's really tough to say what was necessarily going on. It's just the sad situation around them. The ground game for the team itself was okay. It wasn't impressive, but you don't need them your running backs to be impressive, especially in the Shanahan system. Outside of that, for the defense, I believe they were pretty up and down, if I recall. Going back to like the points per game, I was hoping for an EPA thing, but couldn't find one in time. Yeah, they were, yeah, points per game. They were a little bad. They weren't terrible or awful. They picked up Bradley Chubb. They traded for him from the Broncos to try to fortify the defensive line more, get more of a pass rush going on, and they kind of did. He's not exactly like Yvonne Miller, Miles Garrett, T.J. Watts, or Nick Bosa level player. He's not going to be that kind of game. He wasn't that game changer for them, but he's a presence there that they needed. The offensive line probably also needs some work as well. Then it needed to be able to better protect their quarterback. Not to blame them on the concussions. It just feels like pass protection could still use work. But yeah, man, this team going in missing Tua and possibly Teddy Bridgewater onto their third stringer, Skylar Thompson. Oh, this is not an inspiring team at all. And their off season, they're probably going to bolster the trenches, both sides of the line on offense and defense. Like, this is a team that could be a strong contender in the division if they stay healthy, but that is a big if, which is an odd thing for any as comes up all the time for Shanahan system stuff. It feels like. Okay. Next up for things, the New England Patriots. The former dynasty. You know, I can make my camera a little bit larger now that I think about it. Okay. Let's reset the clock here. Because of that time. Okay, New England Patriots. The predicted record for this team was that they were going to be going 7-10, end up as third in the AFC East and out of the playoffs. And instead, they went 8-9, third in the AFC East and out of the playoffs. Barely. They needed one more win and they could have got in. They just went under their 8.5 over-under expectations, and I was able to guess 10 of the games correctly. so many of the things that was talked about between Johnny and I at the beginning of the season with the prediction stream ended up being spot on. It feels like the worry about Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator turned out to be very warranted. Like, I believe it was just announced like an hour or two ago. Like, they're going to be moving on from Patricia and looking for a new offensive coordinator. Hey, maybe one that actually knows what the fuck they're doing. Yeah, Mac Jones himself looked off the whole season. He didn't show like that form that got him into the Pro Bowl last year, but I'm willing to let the blame fall on Patricia on that and say like kind of like wait for further judgment until they get an actual offensive coordinator next year. Oh, you just realized you took a shower already, Brian? Oh, okay. But yeah, also with the team on the offense, they don't really have a pass catcher on their squad that felt like a real threat. With like Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry, and Jonnu Smith on there. Like, yeah, Mac Jones did not have like a true target, and oh God, were those awful contracts. They were awful when Bill signed them and for the 2021 season. They were even worse this season. Why was Aguilar made one of the highest paid wide receivers? Why were Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith both given a shit ton of money? None of those people are good, even good level. They can be starter level, but more like second string or third string level, honestly. But Bill Belichick continues to show he does not know how the fuck to pick anyone as a pass catcher. Oh wow, did he get lucky with Gronk, it turns out. It wasn't Gronk meant to just be about blocking in the first place anyways, now that I think about it. Oh boy. The defense, I don't think it really had too many issues. I believe it was still okay. Like Matt Judon is a really good steady presence for them. Jack Jones was a fantastic cornerback for them when he was healthy. And man, Belichick knows. If Belichick is good at one thing, it is scheming at defense. Because he's maybe even just all around like coaching those people up. Like it feels like no matter what year it is, there's always going to be someone who either just floundered on another squad or someone who other people think is going to be like practice squad material. Belichick brings them in on defense and they play at like a Pro Bowl level, and you're just like, okay, that's unexpected. Yeah, man. All that money they spent at free agency also last year kind of like went to bite them in the ass for this season. Like, they weren't able to make the moves they needed. They lost some of the players they would rather have, like J.C. Jackson, who we'll get to in a little bit. But they managed to build back enough to try to stay competitive, to stay within a shot of the playoffs somehow with a roster that's not really all that world-beating. But when it comes to the offseason, yeah, their draft capital is okay. It's not terrible. It's not good. They've got $40 million in cap space now, so that's going to help. Although they might want to hold on to some of that in case they want to either get a veteran quarterback or kind of like maybe Mac Jones goes back into better form and they decide to re-sign him. Who knows? It's going to be a weird one for them. Belichick needs to be better wide receiver evaluation. Get Jones a true number one receiver. Like that true like target Diggs, Jamar Chase, say Justin Jefferson for his young quarterback to help him develop even further. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing they need, honestly. That's an actual coordinator. Otherwise, this is I mean, if they're able to do that, there'll be a team that can contend for second place, maybe come close to first, go back to threatening for the Patriots dynasty of old. But it's just hard to see that being a thing that it's realistic for the next few years. So, all right. Now for the last team in the AFC East, we move on to the Betty and the Jets. Ow! No, that's not how the song goes, but yeah, the New York Jets. They had a predicted record of 3-14, last the AFC East and out of the playoffs. Hey, 2-3 right there. They actually went 7-10 to be last in the AFC East and out of the playoffs. They weren't the same old Jets, but in a sense they were the same old Jets. They managed to get the over for the 5.5 wins Vegas predictions, and I was able to guess 10 of their games correctly myself. Hey, also Johnny was a lot closer than I was because he was sure this would be a 6-win team. But yeah, I feel like I was right to be high on their draft, especially with how fucking good their top two picks were. Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. But yeah, I was also right not to believe in Zach Wilson, who should not be in the league as a starter. He is trash. He is as bad as I knew he was. I did not fall for any hint of him being good that people were throwing out there after the 2021 after his rookie season. No, I saw the numbers. It's like, yeah, I don't believe in you. And yeah, he should be. Him and Sam Darnold need to be warning signs for any team, like examples of why you need to be very cautious of, like the 1-year wonders. Although Joe Burrow being a 1-year wonder himself, turning out to be an elite quarterback, but I guess it's different. It's different circumstances. Burrow led their team. Burrow led that LSU team. Zach Wilson was in a weak division and with a much better offensive line than he has now. The Jets' offensive line, by the way, is pretty bad itself. It was a question mark when they lost Mekhi Becton and became evident how not good it really was in the actual season itself. I mean, quarterback still remains the biggest question mark. I mean, Mike White's better than Zach Wilson, but he's not exactly. It's hard to say Mike White's even average level for a starter quarterback. He was to get the job. So the running back room was okay, but again, they were using a Shanahan system, so it wasn't exactly a big deal for them anyways. They are gonna have to look into whatever system we're gonna get next because they fired Mike LaFleur, their offensive coordinator, who was a scapegoat, which was unnecessary because anyone outside of that team would have understood your quarterback issue was the bigger problem. Yeah, I mean, the wide receiver room looks very nice, especially with Garrett Wilson, who is the top-tier receiver he was expected to be, and is one of the strong offensive Rookie of the Year candidates, and a strong Rookie of the Year candidate as well. Go Ohio State. Go Buckeyes. Tight ends, they did what they needed to do. They weren't extraordinary, whatever. Already talked about how the offensive line wasn't good at pass protection and needs a lot of work. Yeah, on the offensive side of things, it's just like, I don't know what to make of you. You're probably going to be getting a veteran quarterback either with Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason, and you have to hope like those two are going to be doing enough to help you win because it might be a playoff caliber team. Outside of that, their defense is really good. That has been coached up very well. Like get on the line, getting everyone back and healthy. Oh boy, did that help a lot. They had a very stout line. between like fuck, what's his name again? Carl Lewis, right? No, sorry, that's a different athlete from a much longer time ago. Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson. Okay, I got the initials correct. And when I got him back, as well as having Quinton Williams play at another level this season, who's going to be asking for a contract, by the way, that was really good. But the more impressive part was the backfield headlined by strong rookie of the year candidate Sauce Gardner who came from Cincy. Oh boy, he is the top-rated cornerback of the season according to PFF. He is their new Revis Island. He is so extraordinarily good. What a fantastic draft the Jets have had. But yeah, like I said, this is a team that could be a strong playoff contender if they had competent QB play. But it feels like they're a team that's going to be fighting with the Dolphins for second spot more often than not. Like, you still need to see them do more to prove that they can compete with the Bills. But first off, they need to be able to compete with the Dolphins and Patriots first. But hey, I mean, things are looking up for the Jets. Things are better than they used to be. And while they didn't make the playoffs, they weren't the embarrassment of old, at least. They did have a strong schedule as well. Like, they had a very tough schedule to work with, and they managed to do this well. So imagine what a softer schedule could look like for them. Alright. And before we move on to the Houston Texans now, I'm going to go ahead and take a bit of a small break right now. See you YouTube in a little bit. Alright, and we're back from the break now. And we're moving on to the sad, oh so sad division. That is the AFC South. How many times can I say sad for this division? Because that is the best description for it here. But hey, as we go ahead and go through this misery of things, let's start with the most miserable of the teams here. The Houston Texans. The predicted record that I had for this team was that they were going to be going 2-15, last in their division, to have the 3rd overall pick. They went 3-13-1, last in the division, and the 2nd overall pick. So close to having the 1st overall pick, but because they pissed off their head coach, they lost out on that. You should have told him he was going to get fired before the game, you idiots. But yeah, they went under their 4.5 win expectation. I guess 13 of their games correctly, which is easy when you have a lot of them losses and they lose a lot of games. I want to talk about some good for this team before we elderly shit on them. Derek Stingley. He was who he was expected to be. He was a really good... he was an okay safety at the start of the season, and with more experience under his belt, he got really good towards the end. He is a very good piece for them on defense that they make sure to hold on to and develop even further going for more into the years. And that's where I end on good things to say about the Texans, by the way. Oh no. Oh, are there anything else? Is there anything else? What was their points per game? How did they manage there? Oh, good. They were 2nd. Good. Oh, well, I mean, the Broncos and Colts were also in the top 3. So, how good is that really? Oh, that means fucking nothing, it turns out. That's... Oh, boy. I'm trying to look at the cap space situation as well right now. Where are they? Okay, it's good. It's good for them. What is their point differential? How sad is this going to be? Negative 131. Yep. Yep, that's expected. That's expected. Oh, God. Let's just move on to the bad. Let's just keep on going into the bad on them. This is going to be something a lot of people want to skip on, I imagine. Yeah, the short and sweet, this is not a team that's going to be good anytime soon. Like, whoever they get in the draft, whether it's Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, or whoever the fuck, they're not going to be put into a good situation. They got one good offensive lineman, and that's it. They got one good defensive player. We already talked about Stingley. I don't know who else is beyond that. That's really starter level. This is... I'd be surprised if this team got an at least competent level coach for this next season. Especially with how they've fucked over Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith was put into a situation where it was obvious he was going to have a horrible roster and be expected to get a top 3 pick in draft at the end of things. This was never a team that was meant to be competitive in the first place, and it really looks like they only hired him because they didn't want to look like they were racist with the Brian Flores lawsuit going on, which just makes things somehow more aggravating to know that he was just a pawn for publicity in the end. Lovie Smith deserved better. The Texans deserve worse. They don't deserve to be a team that's liked or adored in any capacity. I have no good feelings for this team. The best move was getting rid of Watson. That's... their only good wide receiver is gone after the season. There's just so many bad vibes. Their owner, the McNairs, are trash. They're pieces of shit, as far as I know. Maybe the only owner who's even worse than was Cal McNair is Dan Snyder. So that's not exactly good company for them. Nick Caserio should never have been made GM. I don't know how he worm-tongued his way into his position, but he's not good either. He's terrible as a GM. Houston fans, I hope you're making sure to have a second team to root for the next 10 years, or maybe find a new team altogether. This is the joke of the division. This is a joke of the AFC. They need changes from the very top down to be a team worth watching, to be worth caring about. I just don't know what else to say about them. They're trash, they're terrible, they're awful, they have rancid vibes. I'd have more fun watching paint be peeled. I'd have more fun getting punched in the face than to watch one of their games. That's it. And with that energy, we're going on to another team I'm not really happy about right now. The Indianapolis Colts. It's not even about the expectations I had for this team. It's how their season unfolded. Why I don't like them right now either. I predicted them to have an 11-6 record, be second in their division, and be the 7th seed in the playoffs. In reality, they went 4-12-1, third in their division, and out of the playoffs. They went way under their 9.5 expected wins, and I was able to guess 8 of their games correctly. Tell me how I really feel. Oh, I could have gotten even more rancid when I talk about the Texans. Believe you in me. I could have gotten more rancid with the Browns too. Believe you in me. And I can go more rancid. I can will with this team too. But yeah, God, was this one of the largest letdowns of a team? Holy shit! Matt Ryan was awful when he was put into the game. He didn't have the arm strength. He didn't have the accuracy. And the fact that he's a statue. with an offensive line that regressed, or that underperformed terribly outside of Quentin Nelson. That was just a recipe for disaster. The wide receivers weren't great. They weren't bad. They were just okay. I don't know. Paris Campbell was their highlight. Go Ohio State again. Their offensive line again wasn't just bad at pass protection. It was bad at run blocking, which really hurt Jonathan Taylor when he was able to play, who had a very horrible injury-filled year himself. I'm not going to blame him on that. I'm never blaming a player on an injury that they get. Oh, man, it just wasn't... It sucked that the team was able to see how bad the talent was and decided to throw all the blame on Frank Reich and fire him mid-season. Frank Reich was never, in his time as coach for the Colts, was never given a real shot at the playoffs. He was given washed-up quarterback after washed-up quarterback because the Colts failed to understand who to pick up after Andrew Luck retired. They gave him a washed-up Phillip Rivers and were able to bring the team to the playoffs there. Then they got Carson Wentz last year, who should not be an NFL starter ever again. And it was... How did they trick Washington into trading for him? The defense still has nice pieces. Like Darius Leonard... Sorry, not Darius Leonard. Shaq Leonard is still a really good player himself. I'm just really let down by how the team treated Frank Reich and the bullshit and deciding to replace him with Jeff Saturday. Oh yeah, he was a high-end offensive lineman in his day when he played, but he's a media guy now. Like, he should not have been trusted to be a coach. That was such bullshit to not even look at someone on the coaching staff they already had, at least. No, you hire a media guy because he's friends with the owner? Because he played at one time? How do you feel like you're going to get... Are the Colts going to get a good coach in the offseason? Are they get... They're not going to get Sean Payton. They should not be getting... I'd be surprised if they get Sean Payton. I mean, this is a team that looks like they're going to be third place in their division for a while, honestly. Like, it's hard to treat this team seriously. Maybe it's just a lot of the rancidness from the Jeff Saturday hire and acting like they weren't tanking when it became pretty obvious they were tanking right at the end. The Jeff Saturday squad, which became notorious for collapsing game after game after game. Oh, yeah, like that guy's gonna get a real fucking shot. He had a coaching job. Yeah, he's not gonna get it. I don't know. The expectations for this team in the offseason, honestly, is that they trade up to number one. Make that trade with the Bears to get to number one. Give up a little bit of picks for that. And they get their choice of quarterback. I don't know, probably Bryce Young. Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, I have to imagine. I don't know, it's just going to be very tough for them as well to try to get out of that third place spot. They'd be fourth place at last of the division if it weren't for the Texans. But yeah, with two other teams that we haven't talked about that have better coaches, and at least one of them with a better QB, not looking good for Indianapolis. All right. Hey, we have an AFC South team that I have better feelings about. One I am not upset with on this next part here. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. God damn it. Why did I say it like Winnie the Pooh? The Jaguars, not Jaguars. I predicted them to have a record of 6-11, be third in their division and out of the playoffs. But what actually happened for them is that they went 9-8, barely won their division, and got the fourth seed in the playoffs. They hit the over for the 6.5 wins expectation, and I was able to guess 10 of their games correctly. This is a team that outperformed, and a mix of competent coaching from Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence going to another level was what got this team to improve so much. Like, I would have been surprised if this team had like 7 or 8 wins, but for them to actually win the division, well, things went right for them for that to happen. But yeah, it's good to see. Like, it was good to see that Lawrence, while he hasn't been perfect this season, has shown with a coach that knows what he's doing that he can be like who he was expected to be when drafted. He makes the wild plays every now and then, just enough to get people excited for what he could be in the future. And like with their wide receiver room, Christian Kirk was still way overpaid for being a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 level kind of like player. But when I get Calvin Ridley next year, who's going to be coming back from the suspension, that room's going to be getting a lot stronger, just with his presence there as well. The offensive line itself, yeah, it's not good. The offensive line struggled mildly in pass protection and was okay, maybe bad when it came to run blocking as well. It's never a fun thing to see like Trevor Lawrence having to run for his life, run like a chicken with their head cut off in his own pocket, try to stay alive out there because his line just can't protect him for shit. But yeah, beyond that, like looking at the side of the defense, things seem to be clicking more for them. Like their quarterbacks are at least good, if not pretty good. And like Josh Allen, their defensive end, is like a really good piece on the defensive line, which they can still fortify. Do they need to fortify the defensive line? Maybe on depth at least. But yeah, like this isn't a team that's going to be making it deep into the playoffs this year by any stretch. If it happens, that'd be like because Trevor Lawrence just fully ascends all like out of nowhere. Like they can win their first game, I believe. Like I feel like it's a toss-up at this point with between them and the Chargers for who wins that game. I'll do the predictions tomorrow after the NFC for all the playoff games after I'm done with the NFC retrospectives. But yeah, it is still a thing to remember. Like this is a team that was a lucky pick 6 away from being second in their division and out of the playoffs. Like they can't be going into their wild card game feeling fully confident. They need to understand they're against another strong team that could have beaten them pretty easily in the regular season. Both were to face each other at full force. But it's a different situation in the weekend, so who knows how it's going to turn out. But congrats to Jacksonville for no longer being the joke of their division. Actually winning it this year. Going from like... Were they worse the first? No, it was Texans that were worse last year, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, congrats on making sure that they don't get a top 5 pick this year in a draft. They're actually going to be able to ignore trying to get that high in talent because they got to the playoffs. That's the big thing for them. That's the big step they needed. And with how good of a job Doug Peterson's done already fixing up some of the things there, you have to wonder, oh boy, how bad was Urban Meyer? Because Urban Meyer just looks worse and worse. Like the better the Jaguars get. I myself am also still not like fully sure on like their front office's work. They pretty hit or miss for me right now. But it's like this offseason, like continue to help your young QB out, fortify that offensive line, get him like another pass catching target or two. Help ETN out with the running game, who looked good when he was on his A game, but can get stopped pretty easily when things weren't quite right. There's always like depth in the defense as well, but this is a team that's going to be competing to win their division until anyone else in their AFC South steps up. All right. Last for the division, the Tennessee Titans. I mean, the Titans, sorry. Slip of the tongue right there. A bit of a letdown team. A little bit. Predicted them to have a record of 11-6, win their division, and get the 4th seed in the playoffs. Hey, some other AFC South team got that seed at least. Their actual record ended up being 7-10, second in their division and out of the playoffs. Going under the 9.5 wins expected, and I was able to guess 9 of their wins correctly, so just over 500. And yeah, things that went on with this team in the season, why things kind of like went differently, or like just in general. Well, Ryan Tannehill was just meh when it came to the quarterback. Losing AJ Brown really hurt the offense, so much so that so much so that it got their GM fired after that Philly game where AJ Brown torched them. What a horrible, dumb decision it was to not do any negotiations with them last offseason. They needed to go ahead and do an actual contract negotiation with him because he turned out to be a game-changer wide receiver. Treylon Burks it wasn't bad, he was good. He just wasn't AJ Brown. Yeah, I mean, outside of that, there's not really too much from the wide receiver room. The tight end room wasn't thrilling either, and Derrick Henry was up and down himself. He had his old form still, but you have to wonder if the wear and tear is really getting to him at this point. Kind of like some more stuff from the QB room. Like, I personally don't think Malik Willis is going to be the future for the team. He was god-awful when he was able to play, and which is such a sad thing to remember. Like, the Titans had Josh Dobbs starts in their last two, and their like do or die games at the end of the season because they believed rightfully that Dobbs would give them a better chance at winning. But yeah, on the offensive line was also terrible. It put the team in a lot of rough spots. Pass protection was dreadful, which hurts the offense as well, kind of like help compound the issues. The running lanes weren't being opened up as well, which usually wouldn't matter too much with Derrick Henry, but yeah, with Henry's having like some slower steps to his game, ended up hurting things there as well. The defense was good. I'm not gonna beleaguer the defense. Like, they had a good pass rush. The defensive backs performed very well. Everything was clicking on that side of things at least, and it's just like maybe it was the right thing to get rid of their offensive coordinator and look for a new one. I believe they got rid of their offensive coordinator. Oh boy, but yeah, like maybe it was the system. Who knows? But it looked like there was just some like talent issues, some coaching issues. Okay, that goes on to the coordinator side of things there too. But looking back on things, Mike Vrabel did still coach his team to be the best they could be. Tomlin, Vrabel feels like the Tomlin for the AFC South right now, just because like he's still coaching the utmost best out of his players that he can get. He's still trying to keep them competitive and still kind of like try to be a team to at least bring fear in other teams. Kind of like be the one you worry about towards the end of the year. But yeah, they had a tough schedule. What is it like? Yeah, they had the 5th toughest schedule in the league. And yeah, that and a very injured roster for most of the season. Still got 7 wins with no QB, a real answer at QB. Nothing really going on the offensive game too much. Gotta put that on the coaching to say that you can still win at least that much. But yeah, this offseason they're going to be spending their time looking at quarterback. Maybe try to draft one. Where are they drafting right now? 11th overall. Tough to see them get one there. Geez, how are you looking in cap space right now if you want to get a veteran? Oh, you have the 3rd least amount of cap space at negative $25.5 million. And not able to restructure that too well either. This is a team put in a horrible bind. They are going to have a lot of issues trying to get themselves back on their footing. It might be a couple of years of restructuring things, offloading expensive veterans, and slowly building up some young talent in the draft before like they're able to go back to being a truly good team. Maybe they get Derek Carr in the offseason to be like... But it's hard to say that they'll be able to afford him, really. Yeah, this is going to be a team that's going to be trying to get to 2nd place, but might find themselves in 3rd place over the next season. Alright. Well, we're about to move on to the last division to talk about for... Sorry, the last division to talk about in this stream. Alright, let's get on with it. A team with very mixed results. And we're starting with the saddest of them. The Denver Broncos. Pain. Oh, the pain. This is the team that was the largest letdown of them all. A predicted record of 11-6 is about what was widely shared. To be 3rd in their division and a 6th seed in the playoffs. They had an over-under Vegas odds, Vegas expectation of 10.5 wins. Instead, they went 5-12, last in their division. With their 5th overall pick, they would have had surrendered to the Seattle Seahawks because of the Russell Wilson trade. I still somehow guessed 10 of their games correctly, despite being 6 wins off of what actually happened. But, oh... Let's start on a positive again. Patrick Surtain is an elite-level cornerback. Their defense is extraordinarily good. It was well coached the whole season. It was very good at stopping most teams, most offenses. It's one where, like, if you had a better offense, this would have been the team that makes it into playoffs like everyone expected. The defensive line, even with Bradley Chubb out, was still performing well. Linebackers were performing well. Everything on the defensive side was clicking most of the time. And that's where the good things end. Is Russell Wilson cooked? Is the major question of things. Mr. Unlimited became quite limited in his play. He made horrible decisions quite frequently. His accuracy was off. His he tried to be a statue in the pocket for some reason, even though he performs his best when he's on the move. He wasn't really. He wasn't the Russell Wilson anyone expected. I'm not putting all of bad coaching on him, but I will also admit the coaching was dreadful too. Nathaniel Hackett couldn't hack it. Ooh. Yeah, no. Yeah, he was a terrible coach. No idea how to manage the clock. He left the players uninspired. His play calling was lacking. Just everything about his time there as coach made it a surprise that he lasted as long as he did. The coach who was obviously brought in there just to try to coax Aaron Rodgers over to Denver. And when that failed, Denver panicked. Hey, something. Panicked and just kind of went, Russell Wilson, let's get him. And then, I don't know. Oh, God. Oh. Yeah. I mean, the offensive weapons were still good. Jerry Jeudy's still a really good wide receiver, for instance. Just things never really clicked. Their offensive line, by the way, was also bad. Garrett Bowles should be never trusted to be a starter. No, every Denver fan every Denver fan out there knows Garrett Bowles is a liability. He is so prone to being penalized. He managed to be a Pro Bowler last year when the league decided not to call holding as much. But when the league decided to change their mind this year, he went back to being garbage. But yeah, a whole line couldn't do much, which maybe was also hurting Russell Wilson. But Russell had a bad offensive line in Seattle, so I'm not going to say that's got too much to do with it. I don't know. I just this team doesn't have a lot of draft capital after getting that trade for Russell Wilson done. They're, like we said, their first round pick, 5th overall, is going to Seattle. What is their fucking draft capital like even? How much money do you have? Because they also, by the way, randomly gave Russell Wilson a mega contract extension when they had no reason to. Which put them even further in a bind because, they're about average with 17th amount of money space at $4.2 million. Which isn't a lot to work with. This is... Okay, really quickly, whoever they get as their next head coach needs to know that Russell Wilson's development has nothing to do with how long they're going to stay there. Sean Payton should not take this goddamn job. It is a terrible job still, even for him. Congrats on being trying to be 3rd place now, thanks to the team we're about to get to in a minute. Oh, a few minutes, actually. Yeah. Just real quick. Yeah, the Broncos are the 3rd place team in the division, but they should be 4th place. Just because of the last team we're going to get to in the division being worse than them. Now for a team to be happy about. A team that brings us shines everywhere they go. A team that makes you smile, unless you're against them. The Kansas City Chiefs, who are going to ring around the rosy to a Lombardi. At this rate. The predicted record we had for them was to go 11-6, be second in their division, and be the fifth seed in the playoffs. They had an over and under of 10.5 wins. And what actually happened is that they won 14-3, won the division, and got the first seed in the AFC as well. So we're not going to see them this weekend. They get to rest another week just to destroy whoever comes out of like the Jaguars-Chargers matchup. Oh, what do you do to stop Mahomes? Hey, so much for that offense becoming pretty bad without Hill there. So much for all that regression talk. So much for all the expectations that Mahomes was all of a sudden not even a top 10 quarterback in the league. What a lot of dumb, silly fucking talk that all was. You fools. You fools. You only made Mahomes stronger. That team became even more efficient with the ball, spreading the ball around. Became even more efficient in a passing game with Hill out as they spread the ball more and let Travis Kelce go Super Saiyan. Just turned into one of the best tight ends we've ever seen. Go to that like Gronk level thing, kind of like side of things. Just that much of a dominant force on the field. How do you stop Mahomes and Kelce? You score more points than them. Seems to be the only thing you can do. Like, there is no stopping them. They are an unstoppable force. The best thing you can do is to try to be a stronger force in turn. The running back by committee that they ended up going with, actually it worked out pretty well for them, going between Jarrett McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco. Like, those two were able to do plenty for the team, just enough on that side to help keep things like loose, help keep teams from just going after the pass. But when teams try to go after the pass, it's still going to work. The defense was okay. No, they gave up the most points per game, so take from that what you will. I mean, Chris Jones is still a Pro Bowl level defensive lineman. They still got some pieces kind of like out there, but that's not going to be what they focus on at all ever. Like, they had a tendency to collapse, and they made games that should have been easily winnable, like closer than they needed to be at times. Like that Denver game that everyone remembers, where like it looked like the Chiefs were going to steamroll Denver until a collapse happened and made the game closer than it ever should have been. Yeah, hey. Oh, hey, also so much for what was supposed to be a strong division, making things tougher for them. They still easily won their division. They won it by 4 games. Sorry, 5 games if you want to take into effect tiebreakers. Oh, wow. This is a Super Bowl caliber team so long as Andy Reid is coaching and Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback. That is an unstoppable duel. The players just seem to have fun. Like, there's that Raiders game where they did the ring around the Rosie huddle before getting what would have been a touchdown, if not for a penalty. It just feels like the offense is just toying with everyone at this point. Like, they don't treat anyone like super serious competition anymore. Now, I will say, with Kelce turning 34 next season, it is going to be fair to wonder how many years he has left. At the same time, if you just come off of this performance that he had this season, oh, I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff, necessarily. I mean, in the offseason, maybe they bolster the passing attack even further. Why not? I get it. They got Kadarius Toney, who can get a full offseason with them and become an even more fun player. That gadget player that they just so love to have. Maybe they can get like I don't know, like a contested catch specialist. Maybe they can get another speedster. Who knows what they want on the passing game. Andy Reid will have fun drawing up plays for them, though. Yeah, they don't need to worry about their defense too much. They just need to keep that steady enough that it won't be a complete disaster, really, to be able to win their games. But the way they structure their contracts with all of their star players as well makes it very easy for them to restructure things around and keep keep restructuring things to keep veterans that they want, or bring in free agents that they'd like to have as well. Like, very flexible roster, and they're top end. They're top end for so many decades, for a couple decades. Sorry, went on a few seconds there. He's glad I went from 5 minutes to 6 minutes. Alright, we're moving on now to a bit of a letdown team, honestly, but not by too much. Let me press play. There we go. The Los Angeles Chargers. LA Chargers. It would have been Las Vegas next if I actually went alphabetical, but I decided to do the abbreviations. Anywho, the Chargers, I had predicted them to have a 13-4 record to win their division and get the third seed in the playoffs. They had an over-under expectation of 10.5 wins, and their actual record ended up being 10-7, second in their division, and get the fifth seed. I was able to guess 10 of their games correctly, and first and foremost, the thing I would like to say about them that I like the most is the powder blue uniforms are still elite tier. Like, the only thing that can compete with them are the Bucks cream uniforms. But yeah, hard to say too much like that this team necessarily underperformed or anything. It's this honestly should have been the expected outcome for them all along. Justin Herbert has been a rock steady and good QB, but he got limited pretty badly by his offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, who whenever they lose in the playoffs should be fired and replaced by someone who works with a modern NFL offense and who understands his quarterback strengths. Justin Herbert is a premier deep ball passer and is excellent when allowed to move around. Lombardi hates letting Herbert rush. Lombardi hates letting Herbert do a rollout. Lombardi hates letting Herbert throw. Maybe some of the throwing part was also because, like, the constant injuries to Mike Williams and just the whole team in general. They lost Rashawn Slater for a long time. I believe he's healthy or should be able to play in the wild card game. But yeah, this is the Herbert, who's one of the best deep ball pass catchers, had the lowest, if not one of the lowest, average depths of target in the league at only 6.5 yards. But man, that discussion with Herbert just got weird. There were some people being like, "Oh yeah, no, he's just a social media QB," as if saying like only people on Twitter think he's good, even though it's like anyone with their eyes or looking at the analytics of when he's allowed to be who he is understands. Yeah, this guy is legit. I don't know. Yeah, the team just continued to be snake bitten and cursed. They were riddled with riddled with injuries. They need a cleansing or something, it feels like. I don't believe in curses or spirits, but damn, they actually might need like a priest or something to go through their locker rooms and kind of like, I don't know, do like some salt cleansing or whatever it is. Ah, boy. The defense was nice, but not great. again, a lot of injuries were an issue, but also J.C. Jackson was a major letdown of a contract. He was expected to be this grand ball hawk like he was through his time in New England, and came to the Chargers and was okay. He wasn't playing at the high end level that he was supposed to. Just, I don't know. When will health not be such a major concern for this team? Oh yeah, all the like health issues as well just make it even dumber for Brandon Staley, their head coach, to play the starters in that meaningless Week 18 game where no matter what happened, they were locked in for the 5th seed in the playoffs. Which is biting them in the butt right now as well, because it doesn't look like Mike Williams is going to be playing after he got injured in that game. This is just a... This is a team that in their offseason, they need to take a hard look at everything on the offense for the game plan. They need to see like what they need to do to fix up to put some more bolstering on the offensive line. What new weapons they can put along for Herbert to throw to, because they got wide receivers who are either going to be aging out or getting contracts coming up. So there's question marks there as well for them. When everyone is healthy and this team is on their A game, they are actually able to compete with the Chiefs in the division and be a strong team that could possibly have Super Bowl aspirations, but it's just hard to believe that can happen right now. And it's so weird that we're going from thinking of Brandon Staley as one of the top coaches, like one of the top young coaches in the league, like he was in 2021, to wondering and thinking he should be in the hot seat for 2023. I don't know. It's a good team. It's a good team. Who knows when they'll be great, though. Alright. And now for the last team, not only in the division to talk about, but in the conference. We have a team that used to be in California, but decided to move further into the desert. The Las Vegas Raiders. Don't go betting on this team to be good next year, by the way. They had a predicted record of 9-8 to be last in their division and out of the playoffs. That record would get them into the playoffs, possibly still. But yeah, they had an over-under expectation of 8.5 wins, which they hit the under of with a 6-11 record to be last in their division and have a top 10 draft pick. Where is it? Oh, number 7. I was able to guess 8 of their games correctly. This is a hard team that turned out to get right. Let's start with QB and talk about things for the season and how it unfolded, as well as question marks for the future. Because Derek Carr's situation is, well, not unclear anymore, because he said his goodbye and the team has openly stated that they are looking to trade him away, see what they can get for him. Now, the room that's left there isn't inspiring. I don't think Jared Stidham's going to be anything more than a journeyman backup quarterback. I don't know who else they have beyond that. And I think it's a pipe dream for them to expect Tom Brady to go there. I mean, what is their cap space situation right now? Let's look at this real quick. Yeah, it's not bad. They've got a little over $22 million available. So they can possibly restructure things to get a different veteran QB in, but they might be better off just drafting one on their own and trying to build up from there. But it's going to be a hard time for whatever QB ends up in that spot. Derek Carr himself, he just continues to be that average, like, median line of quarterback. He has some wow moments, sure, but he's just okay. He's just kind of good. He's not great. He's gonna. I mean, if you take his track record of things, I'm probably gonna be somehow found. He's gonna somehow find about this tiny little stream, this tiny little recording, and decide to block me on Twitter over saying he's not the next Tom Brady, saying he's not better than Mahomes. But yeah. Devontae Adams trade. Tough to say that worked out, because they might have had even more losses without him. But they ended up not. They still were a bad team with him. Devontae Adams still at still at the good level he was at before, but fuck, what? How old is he now? Forgot to look this up. Oh, he's 30 years old, so he's about to hit like the time for like wide receivers where they kind of like collapse and like lose their mobility that they used to have, lose any kind of like strong abilities they used to have. So tough to believe in him being a great target in the future. He could still be a good one next year at least. But yeah, the offensive line was terrible. It didn't do anything to help anyone. I was right not to believe that that line either. The defense was okay. Max Crosby still plays at a pretty well level. The 10th most difficult schedule and the lack of any rest edge didn't help them either by any means, but I feel like the biggest thing for this team is just it was a mistake to have Josh McDaniels as your head coach. He might be a better offensive coordinator than he was a head coach, but he also only looked like a good offensive coordinator when he had Tom Brady. So maybe he's just an okay coach, period, on any level. I just feel like this is a team that's going to be stuck. The Raiders are going to be stuck with McDaniels for another year or two, by the way, just because they're already paying a lot of money to Gruden still, who is under contract for, 5 more years, technically? Oh, boy, yeah, they're, the Raiders owner doesn't really do a lot to help that team out. Oh, a lot of bad decisions on his part. On that kangaroo court haircut guy. It's just... I don't know, this is a team that's completely average and boring and underwhelming on all levels. They just seem like they'll be forever trying to be not last place at best for the foreseeable future. I don't know if they can draft well. I don't know if they can inspire, if they can bring in the right free agents they need. I don't know what they can do. They're just a team that exists. Who cares about the Raiders? It's hard to. It's legit just... Sorry to spend these last few seconds just being like, yeah, no, I just find this team boring, but that's how it is. And, hey. Look at that. We got a little over an hour and a half in the books here as we gave our quick retrospective to each of the AFC teams. Thank you all for joining me for this tonight. And thank you, YouTube, for watching as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to check out the NFC retrospective and playoff preview that will be going on tomorrow as well. In the meantime, take care, YouTube.